welcome back to Living with Climate Change, or Living in the Anthropocene. That's what the scientists are calling it. The reason being is that human development and human beings have become such a powerful force on this planet that we are changing the Earth's cycles, the biogeochemical cycles of the Earth are being abruptly changed, such as the Earth's energy balance, the carbon cycle, the water cycle, and all the other cycles are being what we could think of as being knocked out of balance from a relatively stable position for a long time. And this is what we think, the scientists think that this is creating extinctions of species at an extremely fast rate. And yes, there are always new species adapting to new environments, but we know from research and that there are way more species going extinct than are being adapted and created. And that is what is, we are in a bit of a different position. And so because we are human beings, we have consciousness and we know that this is happening. So in that lies responsibility, that we are stewards of the land, of our planet, because we have the knowledge of what is happening and we are causing this. So that's a little bit of what the channel is trying to address, and what this show is, we will talk about a little bit. But that is the predicament that we are in the environmental issues of this planet and climate change. I haven't made a show in a long time, and I'll tell you why is, well, firstly, I got very busy, and I'm a freelancer, and I've not been able to find any work for a long time. So I want to work in environmental issues, obviously. I have a master's degree in environmental science, energy resources. And so I'm trying to get a job in, I'm really interested in solar energy, because we know that in the future, our energy, at least in the foreseeable future, our energy resources will be a diversity of different types of energy resources. And I just like solar. I believe that it's the most benign that we have now. And I think as it develops, it has great promise. And I believe that that solar is going to be very important for developing countries that are not, near the grid, and they can get distributed energy right there through solar PV panels. Anyway, that's so if anybody knows of anybody that would want to hire me as an energy consultant or a solar energy consultant, please email me. So that's what I've been doing, but I miss making these shows because applying for jobs for weeks on end and no answers back is quite frustrating. And the show has not been able to, I've not got any donors for the show yet, 0 donors. But I love making these shows. It's good for me to get it out and talk about it. And also, I must say that I watched the Democratic convention, and that got me a little bit, it got me a little bit excited about taking action and doing something about our climate So today's show, I don't really have a topic. It's just a kind of a show to get me back on the air, as you could say, uh, and let the few viewers that I have know that I'll try to start making some shows again. Um, Now because I've said a lot. I've said a lot in all my shows. There's a lot in there that there's always more to say. So really, the reason I started the show was it's called this. You've heard of climate change grief or climate trauma, and I think that I mean just even in the last few months, I think that it's maybe becoming more prevalent with all the images that we see now online that I'm seeing, and images of plastic pollution that really is bothering people. The oceans, are getting so polluted. So climate grief or this it's just a sadness and a depression that can come over people, especially if you work in climate change or environmental issues. It can be overwhelming because there are some dire predictions, and you have many people that there's just no hope. Some people think that it's too late, that carbon cycle's been changed so much and there's so much feedbacks and that it may be too late for us to change abrupt global warming, and that's going to have devastating effects on human civilization as well as other species. Now, climate grief, now, if you know about this, the only thing you do is deny it. So it's just if you're anybody that follows it every day, there's no way you could live in denial. But a lot of people do. But I think as more and more, as time goes on, and we see climate change advancing, global warming advancing, it's people are not going to be able to deny it any longer. So might become. So that is, I wanted to just address this because I suffered it very bad, and it helped me. I worked through it some, and that first video is called "Facing Climate Change Grief," and there's two parts, and I think it's pretty good. I haven't seen it in a long time. And then I moved on from that into facing climate change with spirituality. Now this is an expansion of just of spirituality in human life, and how everything dies and we will die, and it's a way of relating that to what's happening to the climate and our earth. And I think you can tie that together and get some relief. And I have. It's helped me a lot. Some of the other shows I did was on CO2 emissions as the main driver, because I just had found that people still question that. So I did a pretty long video about what our atmosphere is and the carbon cycle. And then I did a show about, it's called State of the World, and it looks at really the state of being a human being today compared to 100 years ago. And it puts a twist on it. I think that if you look, that show looks back at droughts and famines and wars and all these things that happened just in the last 100 years. And I think that you can say, as of now, that the state of the world is actually in pretty good shape. I, I think so. It is for me. Anyway, and also that was about climate action is about what people are doing to fight climate change, um, and then I did one facing climate change with Rumi, which was more of a spirituality way to face climate grief. I did a thing, kind of a short show on solution to global warming that was based on an old paper I did in college. And then facing climate change panics, another show. That's what I call it, a climate panic attack. And I know people, I think some people are just in those constantly in their lives, and I don't think that's a good way to live. It's a severe case of climate trauma, I would say. And then I talked about the Montreal Protocol and the precautionary principle. And so these are kind of a political way of we need to do something. And then I talked about geoengineering that is extremely controversial and can be very dangerous. And then some other news briefs and an interview and things like that. But so I will continue on, try to take some new topics in the show. But I hope anybody new seeing this, maybe they can go back and maybe get something out of some of these old shows. But I think I'm going to do a show on, I don't know, solar energy, because that's what I've been studying a lot lately. And also, from the Democratic debates and the U.S. and its position and what we can do. And I'm going to do the next show is going to be about how this is a global issue and it cannot be one country just thinking that they can do it alone. It doesn't make any sense. This has to be all the world has to come together, or it will not work. Unless everyone, that's what the Paris Climate Accord is all about, the UN trying to. So that's what I'm going to just kind of briefly discuss that on the next show. But thanks for joining me again, and I hope you look forward to some new shows that I'm going to try to make. Again, I'm kind of busy trying to find a job, but I'll make some videos if I can. So thank you for joining me, and we will see you next time on Living with Climate Change. Bye-bye.